You know, I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, staring out at my backyard in this quiet little corner of Willow Creek, Georgia, telling a story like this, but here we are. And let me tell you, it changed everything for me. It started about 2 years ago, right after I moved into this cozy ranch house on Maple Lane, the kind with a big oak tree out front and enough space for a vegetable garden that I'd dreamed about since retiring from my job as a mechanic up in Atlanta. I was excited. Man, finally had my slice of peace after years of city noise and grease under my nails, but then I met Evelyn, my next-door neighbor, and things went sideways fast. Evelyn wasn't just any neighbor. She was the queen bee of our neighborhood's homeowners association, the HOA that ruled Willow Creek like it was her personal kingdom. From day one, she had it out for me, started with little nitpicky complaints, like how my mailbox was a shade too blue. Didn't match the community aesthetic, she said with that fake sweet smile that hid a whole lot of venom. But it escalated quick. Turns out, she had her eye on a strip of land along our shared fence, about 10 feet of grass and dirt that technically belonged to me, according to the old property deeds I'd dug up from the county office. Evelyn claimed it was hers, said her late husband had always mowed it, and she wasn't about to let some newcomer like me mess with her memories or her plans to expand her rose garden, which, let's be honest, was her way of flexing control over everyone. I later found out she was dealing with some deep grief, her husband gone from cancer just a year before, and maybe she saw me as an easy target to channel all that anger, that sense of losing grip on her world. But at the time, it felt personal, like she was gunning for me because I didn't bow down to her HOA throne. The hook that really sank in was that first confrontation. I was out watering my tomatoes one evening, sun dipping low and turning everything golden, when she marches over, clipboard in hand, face twisted like she'd bitten into a lemon. "Mike," she snaps, not even a hello. "Your fence is encroaching." I measured it myself. "And if you don't tear it down by next week, I'll have the board fine you $500 a day." I stood there, hose dripping, feeling my blood boil encroaching. That fence had been there since the house was built in the 70s, and I had the surveys to prove it. "Evelyn, come on." I shot back, trying to keep my cool, but my voice rising. "This ain't about the fence. It's about you wanting that extra yard for your flowers. Why not just talk it out like adults?" She laughed, that cold, mocking chuckle, and leaned in close. "Adults? You're the one playing farmer in my neighborhood. Pay up or pack up, newbie." Man, that stung. It wasn't just the threat, it was the way she said "my neighborhood," like I was some intruder stealing her power, her last bit of control after losing so much. I stormed inside, slamming the door, heart pounding. How could someone be so petty, so manipulative? That night, I couldn't sleep, replaying it over and over, the anger building like a storm, whispering to myself that I'd fight back, maybe even sue her ass if I had to. As the days dragged on, the conflict chewed me up inside. Evelyn didn't let up. She rallied a couple of her HOA cronies, folks like old Mr. Harlan down the street who owed her favors from past board votes, and they started showing up unannounced, taking photos of my yard, citing violations for everything from my garden gnomes to the height of my grass. One afternoon, I caught her whispering to Harlan right at my property line, pointing and gesturing like they were plotting a heist. "See? He's letting weeds take over. It's bringing down property values," she said loud enough for me to hear, and Harlan nodded along, mumbling something about community standards. I exploded out the back door. "Weeds? Those are carrots. You blind bat, and if you're so worried about values, why don't you fix that eyesore shed of yours that's falling apart?" She spun around, eyes flashing. "How dare you? I've run this HOA for 15 years. I keep this place pristine while people like you drag it down with your hillbilly hobbies." Hillbilly? Me? I'd worked my butt off for decades, saved every penny for this house. And here she was, twisting the knife because her grief made her see enemies everywhere. Maybe she envied my fresh start, or feared change in her tightly controlled bubble. The back and forth got uglier. She slapped me with official letters, threats of liens on my property, and I fired back with emails to the board, digging up old records showing the land was mine, clear as day. But inside, it was eating me alive. The bitterness, the constant replaying of her smug face, the way it poisoned my days, turning my dream home into a battlefield. I started avoiding my own yard, snapping at my wife over nothing, feeling trapped in this cycle of rage that wasn't just about the land anymore. It was about feeling disrespected, powerless, like she'd stolen my peace. But here's where it turned: the unexpected counterpunch that wasn't a punch at all, at least not the kind I'd planned. I'd been stewing for weeks, even toyed with ideas like reporting her shed to the city inspector for code violations. You know, give her a taste of her own medicine. Petty, sure, but it felt justified in the heat of it. Then one Sunday, sitting in church, yeah, I'm not the most regular guy there, but that day I went, needing something to calm the storm inside, and the pastor starts talking about forgiveness, quoting that bit from Matthew about how if you don't forgive others, God won't forgive you. It hit me like a wrench to the gut. I thought about all the times I'd screwed up in my life, the mistakes with my kids when they were young, the shortcuts at work that could have cost me everything, and yet, somehow, grace had pulled me through. People had given me second chances, even when I didn't deserve them. Why was I holding on to this poison with Evelyn? Was it really about the land? Or was I letting her pain trigger my own unresolved crap? That night, I couldn't shake it, laying there, staring at the ceiling, realizing unforgiveness was like chains around my neck, dragging me down while she probably slept fine. So, the next morning, I did the unthinkable. I baked a pineapple, my grandma's recipe, nothing fancy, and walked over to her door, heart thumping like I was a kid asking for a date. She opened it, looking suspicious, arms crossed. "What do you want now, Mike?" Another argument. I held out the pie, swallowing hard. "No, Evelyn, look, I've been thinking. This feud, it's tearing us both up, and life's too short for that. I'm sorry if I've come off harsh. Maybe we can talk, figure this out without the board breathing down our necks." She stared at me, then at the pie, and for a second, I saw the crack. Her eyes softened, just a flicker, and she muttered, "You think a pie fixes everything? After all the trouble you've caused?" But she took it, and we ended up sitting on her porch, awkward at first. But then she opened up, told me about her husband, how the cancer took him slow, how the HOA was all she had left to feel in control. And yeah, she admitted the land grab was more about clinging to memories than anything logical. "I was wrong," she said quietly, voice breaking a bit. But I didn't know how to back down. It wasn't a Hollywood moment, no hugs or tears flowing. But it was real me extending that olive branch, not out of weakness, but because I remembered how mercy had saved my own hide more times than I could count. And in that release, man, it felt like a weight lifted. I wasn't excusing her crap, but I was trusting that justice wasn't mine to dish out alone. From there, things shifted in ways I never expected. The HOA backed off. Evelyn even stepped down as chair a few months later, saying she needed time to heal, and we ended up sharing gardening tips over the fence, turning that disputed strip into a shared herb patch that benefited us both. It was satisfying, watching her roses bloom next to my tomatoes, like a quiet victory where no one lost everything. But here's the thing that still nags at me, the part that leaves it open-ended. Was forgiving her the right call, or did I let her off too easy? In a world where people scream for justice, for getting even, did my mercy make me look weak, or was it the stronger path? Sometimes I wonder if holding the grudge would have forced real change in the HOA, stopped her from bullying others. Maybe I enabled her by not fighting harder. Or perhaps it broke the cycle, showed her grace she could pass on. It's messy, you know? Life ain't black and white. Anyway, that's my story, raw and real, from a guy who's learned the hard way that forgiveness isn't about forgetting the hurt. It's about freeing yourself from it, stepping into something bigger. If this resonates, or if you've got your own tale of neighborhood drama, grudges held too long, or that moment you chose mercy over revenge, drop it in the comments below. Was I right to forgive, or should I have gone full throttle on the counterattack? Share your thoughts on justice, community clashes, or when letting go feels like winning or losing. Hit that like button if it hit home, subscribe for more real-life stories that make you think, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for listening.